Hi, so I wanted to share some of the key takeaways that I have from the meeting of Ministers of Environment for Latin America and the Caribbean. Three big points based on what the ministers discussed as priorities, and we're still waiting on the documents to come out, but this is my takeaway on what we in the Caribbean and particularly civil society need to think about. First point, clearly much more needs to be done to tackle climate change. We just had the recent IPCC report saying governments need to do more and take much more urgent action to address greenhouse gas emissions so that we could achieve the 1.5 degrees Celsius target that the Caribbean islands are very strongly calling for. And governments in the meeting of ministers of Latin America and the Caribbean identify the transport sector as a priority where they want to tackle reduction of greenhouse gas emissions. But really, my thinking is more importantly for the Caribbean, we need to focus on adaptation to climate change. And for this, we need to emphasize ecosystem-based approaches and community-based approaches to adaptation. So CANARI has been working a lot with civil society organizations and local community resource users to support them to undertake participatory vulnerability and assessments of how climate change is impacting them and what actions need to be taken both by them and by governments and others. It's very important. National plans, studies are not enough. We need to have a bottom-up approach and take action on the ground to build resilience in the Caribbean to climate change. Second point, one of the areas coming out as a priority from the meeting of ministers is around restoring ecosystems, which is really fantastic given the importance of ecosystems for delivering services to all of us. And for the Caribbean, particularly important are adaptation to climate change and also for food and water security. So for climate change, it's really important in the Caribbean we restore coastal ecosystems, such as coral reefs, seagrass beds, and mangroves. And that will help protect our Caribbean coast from climate change impacts like sea level rise and stronger storms. Of course, coastal ecosystems are also important for small-scale fisheries and Caribbean food security and livelihoods of Caribbean people. So that's important, but also we need to protect our forests and restore our forests. Many forests in the Caribbean are degraded and actually are being impacted by climate change and other human activities. But forest protection is important to protect watersheds and for food security because water is important for agriculture as well as water security in the Caribbean. We know climate change means changes in rainfall and periods of drought, which we've been experiencing in the Caribbean. So restoring forests is really important as well. CANARI has been working with civil society, fisherfolk, local communities to help them play a role in restoring important ecosystems. And again, it's important that this not be an action for governments, but that stakeholders play a role, for example, in co-managing protected areas to conserve ecosystems, biodiversity, and to deliver sustainable livelihoods. The third area I wanted to talk about was a take-home for me from the meeting was really around sustainable consumption and production, which is part of CANARI's work on green economy. And the big message for me is we need to focus on micro and small enterprises, and they need more support to go green. This came out in the meeting, in the discussion, that micro enterprises are a huge part of the economy, particularly important, obviously, for poor people, vulnerable people. They're often informal enterprises, and they need special support. So CANARI has been working with community micro enterprises to help them see how they can better be environmentally sustainable, deliver environmental benefits, as well as social benefits, to address poverty and to help their communities. And really, I want to share that we're working with the Global Green Economy Coalition to promote now a global campaign calling for more support for these local green enterprises. What we are asking is for people to sign the Santa Cruz Declaration on Local Green Enterprises, which is on our website and social media. This is a declaration born right here in the Caribbean at a meeting in Trinidad and Tobago. And we'll be taking this message to national meetings, regional and global meetings, to call on governments and international agencies to do more to help this very unique group of local green enterprises. Focusing on big private sector is not going to be enough. We need to really include focus on community micro enterprises to tackle poverty, go green, and help vulnerable groups in society at the same time. So even as we wait on the official announcements, the decisions from the ministers on what they see as a priority for the region, I think it's important for us in the Caribbean, civil society, and just the general public to really think about what these priorities mean for us and what we can do and how our work can really be aligned to address these regional problems. We all need to work together and collaborate. So we're looking out for the results of the meeting, and we will be in touch with more information soon. But check out CANARI's webpage for more on our work in these areas. Thanks.